In the next few minutes, I want to show you why RMA Valuation Edition makes your industry comparisons more transparent, useful, and credible. ValuSource worked closely with RMA to develop the Annual Statement Studies Valuation Edition to provide you with the decile data you need to perform rankings, something no other source of financial comparison data provides. Decile data provides 10 times the amount of data contained in the standard edition of the RMA Annual Statement Studies. I'm going to quickly show you the RMA Valuation Edition, but before I do, I wanted to cover the 5 main reasons you should consider using RMA Valuation Edition in your financial comparison analysis. 1. The most precise industry financial comparisons through ranking. 2. The best coverage with regional and national data. 3. The highest quality data based on actual company financial statements. It covers 700 industries and it's based on over 250,000 statements. 4. The most transparent collection and compilation process. You can trust the data. Many data vendors use undisclosed proprietary modeling methods, making it impossible to evaluate the quality of the data. 5. Simplest process, with automatic ranking tools that export to both Excel and ValuSource software. If you've not seen our article Evaluating Industry Benchmarking Data, how RMA Valuation Edition stacks up, I encourage you to take a look. Let's take a look at RMA Valuation Edition and see how this works. There's 2 ways to access RMA Valuation Edition. One is through the web, and the other is through ValuSource valuation software. So whether you're an Excel user or a ValuSource software user, you can use RMA Valuation Edition. If you're using any of ValuSource's valuation software like ValuSource Pro, EVV, or BVM Pro, rankings are calculated automatically. And if you're using Excel, we provide a ranking template in Excel that calculates the rankings after you input company financials.
When you open RMA on the web, you'll see the top section allows you to search for the data that you're interested in viewing. You can select either a single year or multiple years. Multiple years are really handy for seeing trends. For example, what's gross profit doing over time? If you're selecting a single year, you can select the drop-down and select the year you're interested in seeing. The next thing you need to do is pick an NAICS code. You can either select from the drop-down list, and you'll notice there's hundreds of entries here, and sometimes what's easier if you select search. In this case, we typed in restaurant. And when you select search, you'll see a list of every title that contains that keyword. When you select the keyword, the data will appear. The next thing you can do is select the criteria or section of data you want to see. This is laid out exactly the way RMA Standard Edition is laid out. You can sort by asset sales or historic data. There's national and regional data. And there's also ranges of data under each one of those categories. When you select a range, the data is displayed below. Let's review the RMA Data tabs. The first tab is the Summary tab. The top is General Information, which shows you what NAICS code you've selected. Below that is Current Annual Data, which gives you a summary of that data. In the lower right is the number of statements in this NAICS code. Let's take a look at the income statement. The top is the same general information, but below that is where the information for the Valuation Edition is contained. You'll notice that in addition to the average percent, you'll see the deciles, from the 10th decile to the 90th decile. This is where the real power of the RMA Valuation Edition comes in. Not only do you have the average, but you have every piece of information from the beginning of the curve to the end. So you can actually rank a company instead of just doing the standard difference from the median or average benchmarking analysis. A simple analogy might help here to explain how deciles work. Everyone's either had their own child or someone else's child take a college preparatory exam like the ACT or the SAT. And when they get back, they always tell you how they scored. They'll tell you they were in the 85th percentile or the 90th percentile or maybe the 98th percentile. Everyone knows what that means. If you're in the 98th percentile, 97% of the people that took the test scored less than you did. This works exactly the same way. If you're at the 50th percentile, it means 49% of the companies that responded had a number or a response that was less than yours. So not only is this much more precise, it's much easier to explain. So what you're going to do with this data is rank a company instead of doing the standard benchmarking. In other words, instead of saying you're 12% or some specific number, 5 points above the industry average for something like gross profit, what you're going to say is my company ranked at the 71st percentile. What does that mean? 70% of the companies had a score or a number that was less than yours. This is really precise. And in valuation, it really helps you nail this down so that you can apply this data to specific valuation drivers like cash flow and risk. Let's take a look at some specific data. In this case, we're looking at offices of certified public accountants. Let's take a look at the median number for some of these indicators. If we take a look at operating expenses, you'll notice the median is 87.3%. The average is 83.1%. What does this mean? The average is different than the median because some of the numbers are skewed. In other words, there's some much higher or much lower. Using the median is a much better number to indicate the central tendency of a specific number or a specific industry. Since the averages have the outliers, they're skewed. Some of these numbers are significantly different. Let's take a look at operating profit at the 50th percentile, or the median. It's 12.7%. The average says it's 16.9%. If you had a company that had 16.9%, you would consider that average if you were looking at standard RMA data. But if you were looking at the RMA Valuation Edition, you can see that's close to the 60th percentile. So in other words, 16.9% will give you a much different picture if you can see the other curve. The whole point is if you're looking at just a single number like an average or a median, it doesn't tell you what the distribution is, and it doesn't tell you how your company fits into that distribution. It does not paint a clear picture. This one does paint a clear picture. So looking at the entire distribution curve helps you looking at all these different variables or indicators, cost of sales, gross profit, operating expenses, operating profit, etc. It helps you figure out how your company really precisely compares to the industry. You do the exact same thing in the balance sheet. The balance sheet also has all the deciles in it for both assets and liability and net worth. Ratios do the exact same thing. You have every decile for every one of the ratios in RMA, from the current ratio down to cost of sales divided by AP turnover. I think you can see how having all this extra data will really help you be more precise and add credibility to your valuation reports. So now you've selected the data you wanted to see, you reviewed it, and now you want to export it. You have a couple of choices. The first thing you can do is export that data to Excel. If you come down and select the Export to Excel button, it will export that data file to Excel. When you open the file, you'll see the exact same layout you saw in the application. You'll see the tabs across the bottom: Summary, Income Statement, Balance Sheet, and Ratios. And now you can use this data any way you want. Another thing you can do besides just exporting the data is export the data in analysis. The analysis is in one of our analyzers. It's an Excel file with all the RMA data and input so you can put your subject company information inside of it. When you open up the downloaded analyzer file, you'll see there's tabs across the bottom. This is meant for you to input your subject company information. On Setup, you'll input subject company data. On Balance Sheet, you'll input up to 5 years of balance sheet data. And on Income Statement, you'll do the same. You'll notice the tab after that is Common Size Balance Sheet year to year. You'll notice the first column is subject company for the current year, then subject company percentages, then RMA percentages. And then the next column is ranking. So this is where the analyzer actually ranks your company against RMA. This is really powerful. Once again, it helps paint a picture of how your company compares to the industry. The columns to the right show every year prior to that and how it compares to RMA. You'll notice there's also common size balance sheet industry trends. In other words, what has the industry been doing over time? This is pure RMA data. And then you'll see some charts. And the charts help you get a graphical feel for how that data lays out. And now we'll see a common size balance sheet trend for your company from the subject for the years that you input. And then some charts about that. And then there's a page that has common size income statements, the exact same thing. Your company, your company's percentages, the RMA percentages, the ranking, and then all the prior years. And you'll also see that there's many tabs after that that do industry trends and more charts. So once again, the analyzer helps you input a subject company data, do an automatic ranking, and perform a whole lot of analysis with not very much work on your end. Now let's take a look at how RMA Valuation Edition integrates with ValuSource business valuation software. Whether you have ValuSource Pro, BVM Pro, or Express Business Valuation, it all works the same way. This is ValuSource Pro on the comparative balance sheet under RMA Comparison. You'll notice we'll see the RMA Comparative Balance Sheet schedule, and at the top there's a button that says RMA. This allows us to access the RMA Valuation Edition database directly from the valuation software. Let's take a look. When RMA opens in the valuation application, the interface looks almost exactly like it does on the web. The top is where you select the data you want to see, the middle section is where you review it, and the bottom is where you download the data. Instead of downloading it to Excel or Analyzer, you actually download it into the valuation app. So when you select download, it'll populate the valuation application schedule with the RMA data. After the data downloads, you'll see that the RMA column of data is there, and to the right of that is the RMA Valuation Edition P-tile ranking. In other words, the ranking happens automatically, both for the balance sheet and income statement and the ratios. It makes it really easy to automatically rank a subject company using ValuSource's valuation software. So whether you're using Excel and need to get RMA Valuation Edition data into your Excel files, or you're using a ValuSource valuation application, ValuSource's RMA Valuation Edition will get you the data you need in the place you need it.